Welcome, everyone. I'm not sure if you're live yet, but I think we might be. It says live. So, welcome, everyone. Welcome. I'm delighted today to be speaking to the Uber inspiring Rihanna. So, Rihanna won the Bravery Award at the 2024 Novi Awards, and the judges just could not have enough of her. They found her story inspiring. They found her inspiring, and I just wanted to share her story with you today and to give inspiration to anyone who might be looking for the same. So, Rihanna, welcome.
Thank you, Griselda, and such kind words. I absolutely enjoyed not just the process, but being there on that day. I think I walked away being so inspired myself. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Well, thank you for throwing your hat in the
In the
ring,
ring.
because not everybody decides their story is worth telling or that they are an award winner. So I am very grateful that you took the time to be part of the story again. So
Never mind.
to anyone joining us for the first time should be wondering, who is Rihanna? So tell us, who is Rihanna?
Um, who is Rihanna? Actually, that's such a deep question, I must say. Um, so I am currently, from a professional standpoint, I'm the director for ICT, Digital and Customer Services for London Borough of Hackney. I've been in local government for 25 years. I'm really proud of the fact that I work in local government because of the impact that you can have on society and make a difference to real people and make sure that they have better life opportunities. So I think from that perspective, it's a very fulfilling kind of a role to be part of. And from a personal standpoint, I'm a mother of two kids. My older one just helped me with my AirPods. So, hey, benefits of having children, huh? So, yeah,
Yes.
I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister. I am just like any other woman who has, um, all the things in the mix, and you're trying to be the best of everything that you can be.
Fabulous. So I know that you grew up, is it in India?
India, yes.
Yes. Can you start from the very beginning,
From
please?
there,
Yes,
yeah,
because it's South Asian Heritage Month, actually. And I think it would be
definitely.
great for people to get that context as well.
Absolutely. So I was born and brought up in a city in south of India called Chennai. My parents worked for the army. They're retired, of course, now. But I went to an army school and I graduated in nuclear physics because I actually wanted to get into medicine, but I couldn't because I was 16 years old when I met with a road traffic accident. I was run over by an 18-ton lorry in an army base because they kind of transport tanks and ammunitions, but I was run over by this 18-ton lorry where the driver was drunk, and it was on the day of Diwali, which is a huge thing in south of India. Massive celebration. So none of the hospitals were actually open because there were no doctors around. So I met with an accident around 4:45 in the evening, but by the time they started the surgery on me, it was 1 o'clock in the night. And they had to then move me from the army hospital, which is outskirts of the city most of the time. That's where the army bases are, and then they tried to bring me into the city. Eventually they tried to save me, but they couldn't save my leg. So I lost my leg in the accident. I had a number of injuries as part of that. Loads of fractures. I had a ruptured urethra. I had a lot of issues with my intestines. So funny part is, except for my face, I was hurt everywhere. So I broke my shoulder. I have a huge scar on my shoulder. You'll see me walking with a limp, which I must say, it's a very swag walk, because people who met me for the first time have actually thought she's got an attitude and she walks with an attitude. I was like, I like that. Um, but that happened when I was 16. But 3 months before my accident, I met my husband. So I come from a very well educated, very open minded Muslim family. I married a Hindu, which was the biggest tab working in India. It's like I've always rebelled and done things exactly what the society says don't do. So
I can see
I met
that.
him. Yeah, it should be like that, no?
Yes,
You should
yes,
challenge.
it should. Yes, yes. We don't always have to fall in line. No.
No. So I then met with him 3 months before my accident, and the accident was a huge impact in my life because I was just doing my A levels at that point of time. So of course, I had to learn to be a different person. I had to learn how to walk. I had to learn how to even make friends after that, because you can't go anywhere on your own, because it took it took 13 surgeries over 2 years for me to actually be not involved in any hospital related stuff. So it's like school, exams, and every time I had a term break, I had to go in for a procedure. I had to come back because they couldn't do all the surgeries at the same time. uh, but I'm really pleased. It's all behind me. I got married at a very young age. I was 21. I was told I never might not have children, or not a good idea to have kids because of the number of injuries that I had. But I had my daughter, and then when she was probably around just shy of 2 years, we moved to the UK. That was my first time I had moved out of India ever. And then my husband came into study, and that's how I came here. And then the last 25 years, we've just been here. This is home to me now.
Oh my God. So I have to go right back to the very beginning because you've said so many things that I think we're probably going to spend the next hour just focusing on. So starting off with being an army child and having to move around, how has that shaped you and who you are now?
Um, I think how that has shaped me is probably because of the discipline. I still remember my dad, when I speak to him even now, he will talk about politics. He'll be like, "Are you reading the newspaper?" If I have too much long nails, he'd be like, "You need to cut your nails. Why is your shoes not polished?" And you would still find my dad wearing well ironed clothes, very crisp. He wakes up in the mornings. I think the discipline got instilled in me. And I think another thing about being an army child is the fact that you get to meet so many people. Like, I speak 5 Indian languages. And the reason I speak
Okay.
those languages is because I was brought up in an army base. And my neighbors were Malayalis, or people who spoke Telugu, which is another South Indian language. So it's like you grow up with different cultures. You grow up with different languages. You benefit from different cuisine. It's like even the food is so different, so you're much more
Yes.
tolerant. You're not stuck to your own ways of doing things. I think all of that kind of really shaped me as an individual, of my personal values of seeing the benefits of inclusivity or diversity. So it's
Yes.
not a thing that I've had to been exposed to, or I've had to learn. That's something that comes naturally to me because of the
Hmm.
fact that that's the environment I was born and brought up in.
So tell me about your dad. Your dad sounds like my dad. My dad was very strict. Everything
That
had to be
was,
done properly. And I think it's
yeah,
probably something to do with the era and the time they grew up in.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely. So my dad was in the army, but he wasn't in the field. So he was very much in the administrative side. Um, and dad's been one of those people who speaks very little, which is very difficult. When you meet me, I speak a lot. So he's the exact opposite. He's very measured with his words. And dad is one of those people who's always taught me to give me the benefit of doubt. So he's someone till date, even now, he's 76. He wakes up by 5 in the morning. He'll make a cup of tea, and he's got a routine. He will clean the house up. He'll play his music between 11 and 12. He'll have his lunch
wow.
sharp 1 o'clock. He'll take a nap only for 60 minutes, and then he's up. He still makes the morning cup of tea and the evening cup of tea for my mom. For somebody who was born in those days, especially in India, he's been very broad minded because my mom worked. My mom was in the army. She was head of procurement for the army. So, um, you know, to to kind of have that kind of confidence to let,
Mm,
like my grandparents were in the army. So his dad and my mom's dad, both of them were in the army as well. So I come from a long
right.
lineage of people in the army.
People
Um,
are used to
I think
serving, giving their life to be of service to a greater good and for the
absolutely,
country. Yes.
absolutely. I mean, my parents were most excited when I said that I was taking part in election duties, because they're like, that's an important duty to do because they still provide their services for the elections in India. Um, so, so
Wow,
such
it's about
small things,
civic duty. Yeah, yeah. And I guess that's
absolutely.
something we don't take as seriously these days because we have the right to vote, but we don't vote, and yet we complain about the people who end up being in power. but it is something beautiful about seeing your own contribution mattering, making a difference to whoever
Difference,
ends up
absolutely.
and where the country goes. And you're in your own way doing that through public sector now. So you've told me about your dad, who sounds eerily like my own dad. My dad was a man of routine,
Yeah.
and he treated both sons and daughters equally. And he was as tough on anyone, and we had to take a siesta every after lunchtime. I think it was just his
Oh,
way of having a quiet house. I have
oh
not
no.
managed to do that with my own kids, but I think they really shape us. I think having very strong male models as well really shape us. So you said your mom worked at the time. Now I know in the South Asian culture, it's sometimes a thing of pride. You can control correct me if I'm wrong, for some women not to work.
Yeah.
So tell me about that as well.
I think for me, what I've learned from my mom is all of that work ethics and that kind of resilience and the strength that women bring to the table. I just think
Yes.
that's what I learned from my mom. Mom's been one of those very, very focused person at her work. She took a lot of pride. Genuinely, between my mom and my dad, I think my mom struggled more when she retired because for her it was like, what's my sense of purpose? Like, and it wasn't just about for her about being at work. She played a massive role in educating a lot of people, uh, relatives or family friends within that circle, getting people who worked for us, getting them into employment. Like she took it really, really seriously, and she still puts in all of that effort to guide people, to mentor them, to coach them, kind of a thing. And she genuinely believes that women should work because we have so much to offer. And I think that got ingrained in me from her. But she's a much more serious person. Like
Like my mom as well.
she is very like, like if you tell her something, you've got to do it. Like you can't not do it. Dad also is similar, is like very, but they both are extremely punctual. Dad always said, if you're on time to a meeting, then you're late. If you're early, then you're on time. And
I love that.
if you're late, then you're actually dead because you go to the battlefield, you're late, then there's no point of you being there if you're really late. So, but they both are very, very strict about timekeeping. And you've got to give them a plan, which can be sometimes very annoying. Like,
Mm.
like when I go to India, people think I'm going there for a holiday. Actually, it's not.
You're
It's
going
boot
to
camp
stick to a plan. Boot camp. I love that. But
because I
it's so
have to tell them
amazing. It, it
absolutely.
it gives me a better picture of you now, because I've done a few things with you, and even today when I logged on, you were already here.
Yes.
You walk the talk, and you're disciplined in what you do. But another thing I love about you, Rihanna, is your positivity and your sense of humor. So I know you just dropped in there that, oh, I was run by a truck. And for some people that would be their whole lives identity, talking about
Mm.
this issue that they went through and the surgeries that came after it. But for you, you've somehow managed to turn it into a chapter in a very interesting book, almost a footnote. You don't let it define you at all. And I'm
I
just wondering where
don't
that came
know.
from.
Again, I think it was probably the love and the support I had of the family. Like my parents didn't sulk or they weren't crying all the time about their child. Like I have two kids now, and I can just about imagine if something had happened to my kids, how would I react or respond to that? It's like I was reading your note about your son. He got hurt and he was in the hospital, and I was just like, oh my God, I would be in bits. But I just think my resilience came from their strength. And
Mm.
I'm not going to lie, Griselda. I do have good days and bad days because my hip is replaced now and it's due for a second replacement. So I'm going through a bit of pain right now. So I do get moments where I'm like, oh, I'm a bit uncomfortable. But I figured out that things happen, and when things happen in your life, sometimes it's not the best of the thing, and it's okay to feel bad about it, but it's not okay to continue feeling bad about it forever. And that's what I tell my children as well. So I met with an accident on the 4th of November. I've always, in this last 25 years, always taken the day off at work if it's a working day. I will go out. I love having high teas. That's one way of convincing me if you ever want something from me, is just
Okay,
go.
we're on then.
So I would go book myself a nice high tea. I would go and buy a nice shade of lipstick or get a nice top, feel good about the fact that I'm alive. It's okay if I cried on that day, but then I shake myself up the next day to be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, it happened. It's done. I know it's tough. I know I can't wear skirts. I know I can't wear stilettos and wear high heels. I get all of that, but there's so much to be grateful for. And I know it's cliche because I still cry and I still complain to God as well. I'm like, why me? So I do all of that. But it's the balance. But majority of
Yes.
the time, I just like to have a good laugh and enjoy. I'm surrounded with amazing people. So
And I think that has something to do with you being an amazing person as well. Because I can imagine you attracting anybody who is whinging and moaning and constantly carrying that heaviness with you. But I love what you've just said there. And I think you really reframed a lot of things. And I think for me myself, I will take your approach with me for some challenges that I face, because you do honor the day and you accept and recognize what you went through, but actually you gift yourself an experience, and a positive experience at that, and you lace that with a lot of gratitude. And so it changes something that could have been a painful memory, almost the anniversary of a person, the anniversary of something very difficult, into something to celebrate for the life you still have, for the abilities that you still have.
absolutely,
I think that's
absolutely, I'm
powerful.
alive. And I'm blessed with kids. I have a loving husband. I have a beautiful home. I have amazing family and I've got amazing friends. So I've just been blessed in so many other ways. Um, I yeah, I couldn't cry for too long. I do cry. When I cry good.
Oh, but I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you shared this perspective with me and with everybody else as well. Because um as a mom, when my kids get injured, I think they look to me to see my reaction to their
Yes.
injury. And depending on how I respond, and then they think it's okay to cry some more, or they think it's okay to just laugh it off and get up and go. But I didn't realize just how much of an impact it would have on the bigger life things as well. And
Absolutely.
again, you've given me something to take away, and I hope everybody else listening as well will be able to take that away for their own lives and for some of the challenges we face as we go through life. You talked about wanting to do nuclear physics.
Yes. I actually wanted to do medicine and I
You wanted to do
applied for
medicine. Very typical
a
Indian family wanting to
yes.
do medicine. So that stereotype fits.
Yes. So I wanted to do medicine and I did do my entrance and I went for my first panel interview as well. But unfortunately, um, I hadn't done all my surgeries. So I used to walk with a Zimmer frame. So it's only when
Okay.
I graduated out of university that I started walking on my own. So I had a good 5 years of having to walk with a Zimmer frame with elbow crutches for my years in uni. Um, the panel decided they couldn't give me the medical seat because it would take too much out of me and I wouldn't be able to complete my course. And they wanted to give it to an able bodied person. At that point of time, that was the policy there. Um, I could have probably gone and done it in private. But that would have cost a lot of money to my parents and they had already spent a lot of money on my recovery and in my treatment. And my parents were not, we don't come from no inheritance, we don't have any generational wealth. My parents were working normal family. So we couldn't afford to do private, so I had to do the next best thing, which was to just be a graduate in any of the science subjects, because in my A
Mm.
levels I did science subjects. I got the best mark in physics, and one of the top unis in south of India is Stella Maris, which is actually run by the Vatican in South India there. So they had offered me nuclear physics, and I just did that. I graduated out in 3 years with that.
Just did nuclear physics, just dropping that whilst walking around with a Zuma frame and having
Yes.
all the challenges that you have with all the surgeries you're having. You just went and did your nuclear physics degree in 3 years. So let that
Well, I
just
couldn't
sink in.
party, Griselda. I couldn't go out partying. I couldn't do all of that. So the only thing I could do was study.
All right. That is you again putting a very positive spin on the challenge that you have. So tell me, what how has that experience of using a Zoomer frame when everybody else is a young, able-bodied, raving, partying person, and you were just struggling to get around and struggling to do all the things you needed to do, and also having to defer the dream of wanting to be a medical doctor. How has that shaped
Yeah,
you?
the thing was, the university was in the city, and my parents lived in the outskirts in the army base. So I had to stay in a hostel on my own. And I think it was very brave of my parents to actually let me go through my education. They could have easily made a decision that, just stay at home, it's okay, we'll homeschool you, or you do it through Open University rather than going. As tough it was at the beginning, I think that has been one of the most defining moments in my life, that my disability didn't stop me from me being me. Um, I think I was a very challenging person. I think I'm very funny as well. I
You are
love
very
making
funny.
friends. I love making friends. I love talking to people. So although in the beginning it was a bit tough, I made friends very quickly. And again, like I said, I think I've always said that one of my biggest blessings in life has been that I've been surrounded by such amazing people who've inspired me, who've supported me, who have helped me, who've been my pillar of strength and foundation in life. So I made some really good friends in uni who helped me navigate. The university itself, taking me to my classes, who were in the hostel with me. But there's this big joke going among my uni friends that, like I was one of those yoga masters who would sit in the canteen and I would call everybody because I couldn't go reach out to them. So I'd be like, "Oh, have you seen this person? Can you tell them I need to talk to them?" And
Oh my
there was a joke.
God.
There was a joke running in the university, Divine Rihanna has summoned you. You need to go
Divine
speak
Rada.
to her. She summoned you, so you need to go because like God summoned someone. So that's
Oh
why that
my
joke was.
God.
It's still running, and I've still got those friends in my life, all these years later. So I think it was very difficult. There have been moments where I was upset about it, and there have been moments where I've sulked about things as well because I was a normal, typical young person, and you
Yes,
try
yeah.
and find that question about why me? Like, it wasn't my fault. I wasn't drunk. Why me? But you
Mm.
also know very quickly that there are no answers that you're going to get. So you need to kind of move on. And then when you have that good friends and you have a laugh, the pain, you start forgetting that. And that's why I think it's so important. And even as women, it is so important to surround ourselves with trusted people who
Yes.
actually can uplift you.
Yes.
And I had that. So I think that really helped. I remember one of my friends in uni had asked me, "What is it that you missed the most when you lost your leg?" I used to be a dancer. So I learned classical dance. And I used to love running. And I said, I miss the feeling, like when you run and you're breathless. I said, I miss that
Mm.
feeling. And my friend said, you know what, we'll try this. And both of them grabbed me in my shoulders and they ran the length of the pitch just so that I could feel that.
Oh my God. What amazing
Yeah.
friends.
And I still remember that because you couldn't overcome anything in life on your own. I don't think when people say I've overcome something, I don't think it's an individual thing. I think it's people. It's maybe the physical healing is just you going through that
To the
yourself, but
mm.
what happens in your mind and the mental strength, it comes with people that you're surrounded with. And I think that's been a
Yes.
blessing for me.
It sounds like you have an amazing group of people around you from a family perspective, as well as those you've curated yourself over
Yeah.
the years. So can I just ask, there's a narrative now out there about people bringing you problems, cutting up people once, they show you their true colors. There's a lot about how to curate really good, trusted people, supportive network around you. Do you have any rules around how you've done that? Is it one strike and you're out, or is it just a forgiving kumbaya circle of friends that you have around you?
Um, no, it's not one strike and you're out. I
Mhm.
think I do believe in honesty. So
Mm.
I can be a very direct person. Like I genuinely couldn't fluff things around and make it sound very cushioned and sweet. I couldn't. So I will speak what I think. And I think for me, creating that trusted circle is being honest right from the beginning about this is how I operate. And I think I've had to learn that I can't take responsibility for another person's behaviors.
Yes.
I can tell what my expectations are, but it's not my job to judge, be the jury, or to sit on
Yes.
my high horse and be like, "Oh, you've done this wrong." I'm not. I I I just tend to refrain from that because that's really not healthy for me. And I think
Yes.
it's an art to make sure that you can keep your ego aside, because half the time we only get hurt because we think it's being done to us. Well, who am I?
Yes.
Everybody gets hurt. Do,
Yes.
do you see? You're like, what's so unique about me? Nothing. We're the same in this big bang universe. But we're all equal, right? Like we all
Mm,
experience the same thing. So I just think those are the things that I tend to do. What I tend to practice is like, and if
mm,
somebody has broken my trust, I will tell them that this is what has happened and I will continue what it is. And then I think if they continue, it'll naturally fall off. I don't need to do anything for that. And then when you can build that connection and that trust and that soul connection is there, then they just remain in your life, right? They're just always there.
yes. Yes. So we recently posted something about, a partner is one of the best career decisions you can make. And I think you can agree or disagree with it. But I know that you're in the South Asian culture, who you marry, the
Yep.
religion of the person you marry, whether it's chosen by family or not, is a huge, huge deal. And for you to go against that has huge repercussions. And I'm curious to understand how you've navigated that and how that has supported you in where you are now.
I think for me, my good examples in my life when it comes to career has genuinely been my parents, seeing them work in partnership. So I think
Mhm.
somewhere when I was choosing a partner, those were the kind of qualities I was looking for in a person. Somebody who
Yes.
respects my dream, somebody who respects my vision, somebody who respects my efforts. And I think my husband Ramesh has been exactly that. And I think more than him, I think his mom supports me. But one of the things I think on hindsight I've learned is what I did really well was being patient at the early years of my marriage and not making any drastic decisions. Just being like, okay, it's not great right now, but it'll work through, and trying to focus on things on which I have control over. For me at
Mm.
that point of time was my young kid. And when I was in India, Ramesh and me, very early on, when our daughter was born, we were like, maybe we need to move out of India just so that we can grow and our child grows in an environment where they're not made to feel that they're someone different.
Yes.
Um, so those were
Yes.
the things I was in control over. So I didn't worry so much about who was squabbling behind us over us, or for all of these things about we need the child to be brought up in this way. We want the child to be speaking only this language.
And
We
this
cut the
religion.
noise out. Yeah, we cut the noise out and we kind of just focused on what we really needed to do. And I think
Yeah.
that's a good principle to live by as well.
Yes.
Even now at work, I manage a service of almost 400 people. We probably the biggest enabling service for any local authority to provide.
Mhm.
So I have to make sure that my service delivers to time, to budget, on scope. We're on it all the time. So we probably faced with 50 to 60 issues at any given day. But for me, it's cutting the noise out and really zoning in on the ones that really have the biggest impact
Yes.
and make sure that our
Yes.
intent is right. And I think that really helped during that period. So um, again, I just think my parents have been very strict with me. You're going to finish your education, you're going to be employed, you're going to be financially independent. Like that's just been drummed in, right? um, which is which has got good and bad to it. In the sense, it's like I always make fun, and when I speak to my siblings, I always tell them it's like we're brought up with this framework and we can only operate within this framework. You have to
Yes.
go finish your education, get a job, get a house, get married, have children, and then
And
say that to
then
your kids.
what's next?
Yeah, this is like like enjoying yourself or experiencing the world or experiencing life. It just feels like a afterthought. uh,
Yes.
you know. So I think for me, my husband's been very supportive with my work. Like genuinely, there have been days where I finished work at like 11 in the night, but Ramesh would come and pick me up. For being an Indian man, he's never complained about me not being there to cook. Um, if I'm running late, he'll just start dinner. The kids are fed, so I've never come back home feeling guilty that I haven't been here. It's like it's a very shared kind of partnership. So that
Yes.
I think it's really important that you choose the right person, then, isn't it?
Yes.
Getting that
Yes.
right is
Yes.
really important. But my mom now complains that I'm more close to my mother-in-law than I'm with her.
Oh my
So
God, the jealousy.
yeah, yeah, I think I've done something wrong somewhere as well, if that's what it turned out to be
Yes, yes. Well, it means you've done something right, I think. I think
as
it
well.
means you've
Yeah.
done something right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've just been finished reading a book called The American Woman. I don't know if you've heard of her. It's Zana Gag, and she's a
Oh,
comedian, but she takes South Asia life and she just flips it on its head and compares it to.
yes.
And she's so funny, and I think I've told
Funny.
everybody about her. She's got a TikTok and an Instagram account, but she just compares, she does a family podcast with her kids and her husband, and they just go through all these cultural nuances and the impact it's had on her and her career and the impact it's having on the children as well. So I know I focus a bit on your family and on your life, but I think it's so important because I
Yeah.
know the professional it's amazing, or even on the surface looks amazing. People just look at it and think, well, I'm not Rihanna, I'm not a director of anything, so I can't be like her. But I think when they hear the beginning, the genesis, and some of the challenges you've overcome to get where they are, they start to see themselves in your story. So forgive me for laboring on a bit about your
No.
personal life, but I think it's important that we share that. And particularly as immigrants as well. I'm an immigrant, and people don't hear, we don't talk about that side of our lives. We just show up
Mm.
and get the work done and go home. But we are people with cultures and families, and the way we do things tends to be quite different from how everybody else might be doing it in their own homes as well. So now coming back to the profession,
Yep.
which again you've done amazingly at, and I know you've done a few pivots along the way, and I'm quite curious about the pivots that people make, because we all start off thinking, we want to go on this trajectory and we want to become, I for one wanted to become a partner of a professional services firm. That was my thing for a long time, and I decided that actually it wouldn't work for me in the long run, and I had to make that change and into entrepreneurship. So what pivots have you made along the way to get where you are, where you've had to change direction but still moving forward?
Yeah. I think for me, my career started 25 years in local government when I had no clue what a local authority is. Mind you, I've never gone abroad before in my life. My first time I got onto a plane, I landed, took the BA to British Airways to Heathrow Terminal 4, and that's where I landed. And then I think I landed here on the 30th of December 2000. And then on the 8th of January 2001, I started with Ericsson phones. I was doing translations for Ericsson phones. I was a customer service officer. I had no clue how the work elements worked. I didn't pay attention to a permanent job, temporary job, agency. I didn't have any experience in this country, and because I spoke five languages, they said, "Oh, we were looking for some person to do translations in our contact center. Would you be free?" And I said yes, and that's how I started. The offices were based in St. Paul's, and Reed called me up, and they said 4 weeks later, first week of February, Reed called me up, and they said, "Oh, there is a job going in London Borough of Brent. They're looking for a customer service officer. Would you be interested to attend?" And I said, "Yeah, sure," because I lived in Brent at that point, and I was like, "Oh, I can save some money instead of traveling up and down, and I'll be, my husband and me, we didn't have many friends or family here, so we would have to swap our child and the house keys in the train station."
Station.
um, and we were in a shared accommodation, so we had to, we couldn't, my daughter was just 2, so that's what we were doing. And I thought if I lived in Brent and
It
I
made
got
it
a job
easier.
somewhere in Wembley, then it'll be easier. I can actually get home before my husband leaves for his work. So that's how I started in Brent. And they only took me on because I spoke languages and they needed some translation facilities for revs and bench officers. So had it was the most exciting time for me, Griselda, because I learned about regulation. I didn't know what housing benefit is. The law in India is very different to, the regulation here. The work ethics is very different. So it was like as if I was doing a PhD of a new country, like in a crash course of just learning everything. So it was really, really exciting. And I was a customer service officer, but within 10 months, I was made permanent. I was getting paid £4 an hour, as an agency staff. And then I got a permanent role. My first salary was £16,000 per annum. My parents were so proud of me that I got a government job. They were like, "Ah, you've made us proud." And at that point, I thought I had arrived. I didn't need anything else in life. I've got a
Oh
beautiful
my
family.
God.
I've got a kid. Um, I'm living in London. Like, what more do you want in life, right? And then within a year, I became a team leader. And I think being a team leader was the first time that I kind of realized what true leadership is and what a difference it can make and how much more you can contribute. And it just that hit me, the fact that I was responsible for this team. I was responsible, I kind of really grew a sense of responsibility and ownership for people. It made me realize how important people are for that collective success, and and what an important role you play as a leader to make that happen, to kind of drive that vision and articulate that vision to everyone.
Mm.
So I did that. And then I became a team manager. Then I became a contact center manager. Mind you, a local government, a local authority provides 1,200 services. And I promise you, I have worked in every single department because everything was new to me, social care, knowing that somebody is going to support an elderly person. I was just like, oh my God, didn't know about that. I worked in environment, knew what a street furniture is, why we are responsible for the lamppost, how much money is involved to maintain all of that. I managed accounts payable and accounts receivable, and I promise you, I'm the worst person with budget. Ask my husband. You give me £10, I'll spend 100. uh, no, honestly. So I managed accounts payable and accounts receivable, but it was a learning. And I think I took every single role as a learning. And then I had one of the seniors tap my shoulder and say, We're looking for somebody to lead on digital transformation. Do you want to give it a shot?" I said, "Me? I'm so non technical. You saw me. I was fumbling with, I don't have a headset. What do I go do?" And I'm like, "I'm so not technical." They're like, "Well, you don't need to know the technology. You need to be a good leader and make sure that you have the right people giving you the right advice. So it's about decision making." Did that, flopped miserably at that, made massive mistakes. And that's been my proudest moments, when I made some mistakes in the digital transformation program. And then I became like a head of service for information governance for cyber. And then in between all of this, I also took a pay cut. So when I was a contact center manager, I kind of realized that I was getting a bit bored. Like I could do the job with my eyes closed. I was like, it wasn't inspiring me. I wasn't walking into work to be like, okay, what are we doing today? It was like, yeah, come in. Yeah, I'm hitting 90% answer rates. Yeah, my emails are being responded in
It's too
100%.
easy.
It was. So I took a pay cut at a time when my son was born. And I went and worked in the PMO office because I wanted to experience what it is to work in a
Mm.
cross cutting council wide program. And I wanted to learn project management. So I thought I should go do that. To be honest with you, I actually applied for a job at the same grade I was in. So it would have been a sideways move, but I wasn't appointed. And the feedback I got was that I'm very good at getting things done, but I wasn't able to join the dots and didn't have that helicopter, that wider perspective. So the
Mm.
next role going was two grades below, and that would have caused a dent in my family's setup. But this is why it's so important to have a supportive family and a partner. So we gave up going for holidays for those 2 years when I went on a secondment to do that because I wanted to learn. I walked out feeling so inspired and knowing what I wanted to do. So I was like, so
Wow.
I love problem solving. I'm organized. So I like project management. I didn't need to do Prince 2 and Agile. So if somebody said, Rihanna, we need this done, I would auto. So I was like, okay,
It comes
I got,
naturally to you.
yeah. And I was like,
Yeah.
I should capitalize on that. Like I should do more of it because I really enjoyed doing it. Eventually, I reached a point in Brent where I was their head of digital transformation. And that's when I started thinking that was the time. I think there was another segue there, another pivot there. That I was like, all through my journey, I focused a lot on learning, and
Mhm.
I kind of surrounded myself and gave up my ambition to just learning. That was the only thing that I wanted to do, was just be excited to learn new things. That's all it was. That meant that, like, if you're trying to float in a river, you go where the river takes you, right? So
Yes, you go
that
with the
meant in my
flow.
career, I just went wherever
You
it
went
took
to,
me.
yes, yes. You
But
had
it's
no plan,
only
but you were
no,
learning and just enjoying the experience. You were curious enough to find value wherever
yeah.
it took you.
So it just took me. But then it's only when I reached that level, I was like, okay, these are some of the things I really enjoy. All these years, I've consolidated my experience, my knowledge, my skills, um, all of that put together. Now I was in a position to be like, okay, I can now start driving my career. I don't need to be ashamed of being ambitious. I've got something more to give, and I can decide. I've That was the moment I started putting my value in my hands rather than putting my value in other people's hands, and for them to see what I'm good at. I
Yes.
think that was another pivot for me in my career. And that's when I started looking out of Brent, not because I wasn't enjoying my time in Brent. I genuinely, Brent's home to me because I literally grew up there. No, I was 23 years old when I joined there. So I grew
Yeah.
up in that place. And for me, when my children were born, half of the workforce was more nervous about my daughter's GCSE results than I was. Um, so, I had family there. It felt like family there for me.
Yeah.
So it was a big
Yeah.
decision for me to move out from there. And I did because I wanted to test myself to see
Yeah.
that if I was a one trick pony, or I'm a good leader who can survive any kind of environment and can really make a difference in another place.
Mm.
So I was fortunate enough to get a role in Hackney as their assistant director first. But within 2 months, I was told to act up as a director because the director, moved on to another role in another sector. Um, so there was a big joke going that I scared them to death that they left on their first day. But gave me an opportunity to act up. And then I think last December, they went through a recruitment process and I was successful in securing the director's role. Um, and I think, again, one of the things that I tend to remind myself is that I think sometimes as women, we're very hard on ourselves. We want to be experts, we want to know everything. I think you just need to know, at least from my perspective in my career, I think what I've learned is the fact that I need to be a good leader. I
Yes.
need to have the vision. I need to inspire my people. I need to be fair in my decision making. I need to be able to communicate that decision effectively to people. I need to learn to take good risks. Um, and I need to learn to forgive myself and to be kind to myself before I can be kind to anybody else.
Yes.
Um, I don't need to be a cybersecurity expert. I don't need to be an
No.
infrastructure expert. Do you see? I don't need to be a data analyst. I don't. But what I need to do is guide my people, give them the support, identify those gaps for them, and make sure that they're able to perform to the best optimum
To
level.
the-
So we all have different roles to play. And I
Mhm.
think it's recognizing what your role is and what you bring to the table that is so very important.
Yes, yes, and I think
That's
most
the
of the
nutshell.
time we do underestimate the contribution we have to make, isn't it? Um, I want to go right back to the start when you talked about arriving in the UK to take up a customer service job. Now you just finished a nuclear physics degree, and I'm
Yeah.
sure could have walked into any other graduate program, but that's one of the challenges of being an immigrant. You start where you're able to start, and for me it spells a sense of humility as well. And I think these days we are not able to do that, those lateral moves, because we think you constantly just have to keep going up to be making progress. But the story you've just told me now has involved a lot of lateral moves, sacrifices in title, in pay, in lifestyle, to ultimately be getting where you need to be. And so I want you to speak on that a bit, because sometimes people feel the sacrifice is too big, or if I'm not going up, I'm not making any
Not
progress,
good,
and they turn it
Priscilla.
into something really negative and toxic.
Yeah, I think I have always felt like I have never applied for a job because of the pay. I've applied because I wanted to learn something, or I could be good at it, or I could contribute. And weirdly, the pay always followed. Yes, those 2 years I had a pay cut, but I went 4 grades up after because of the 2 years experience. So you can't
Yes.
put a do you see you can't put a rate
Yes.
card to it, can you? And you
No.
might not realize it at that point of time, but I have a really good friend who once asked me the question, like, what next for you? And I said, I want to aim to be a chief exec. I want to aim. I want to try. If I get there, great. If I don't, I'll be happy that I tried and I'll retire. I have no problems about that. But I want to aim to be a chief exec for a local authority. And he asked the question, he said, but why?
Hmm.
Is it the power? Is it the fact that you'll be the decision maker? Is it the fact that you get really good salary, so your pension pot is much better as you retire? What is it? You know, and I had to ask myself the question, yes, getting a good pay packet is very lucrative. Who will say no to something? Of course, we would all appreciate getting more pay, but genuinely asking and being honest to yourself what that is. I think, and you don't need to share that with anybody, but you need to ask yourself that question. So for
Yes.
me, it's always about when I see a lateral move, I tend to ask myself that question, why? So I was like, I can't just sit in a contact center. I can see all these wider council things happening. How can I be part of something like that? I want to know. I know what I call a professional curiosity. My children say being nosy. So be it. Always involved in other
I like
people's
that
business.
professional curiosity. Yeah, it is.
It is. So it's like, what's going on there? I want to be part of that. I would want to have my ear in CMT. What are they talking about? What do seniors think about? So it's just it's just having that kind of curiosity and not just focusing on one angle. There have been moments in my life where my pay packet was important to me. So I have applied for a job within Brent when I stepped up because, you know, um, my kids had way too many activities and I needed
And
that
you
income
need to pay for
coming.
it.
Exactly. My husband was off work for a year and I was the only earning member at that point. So the money mattered to me. But then I think you can't just stick in one angle. You need to be honest to yourself and you need to be able to drift and be
Mm.
comfortable with that as well because it will add up. If you can just focus on building your knowledge, your experience, and your skill set,
Mhm.
everything else will come automatically.
Wow. And you've just demonstrated to us that actually it does work when you have that
It
focus,
does.
isn't it? It does.
It
It
does.
does. So I heard Sir Clive Woodward. I shared a stage with him once, and he coached the English rugby team to a win. And he talked about two kinds of players. And I've been using this analogy ever since. He talked about the sponges and the rocks. So the sponges are the people who learn. They soak up knowledge wherever they go. They're able to fit into any position that you put them in.
Yeah.
They're just malleable, and they're pliable. Those players you can do anything with. Those team members, they do well. They rise through the ranks. You can just keep promoting and supporting, and they will do well. But then you have the rocks. The rocks that when you pour water on them, it just slips off.
It
they
just,
don't
yeah.
they don't absorb anything. They're very hard to put in any particular role, and you really can't do anything with them, and they don't do very well because they are very fixed and very set in their ways. And from everything you've told me just now, from your experiences, the challenges you face, your ability to just step into different roles and see the bigger picture, and the curiosity with which you approach learning just makes me think of you as being such a perfect sponge, because I don't think it matters where you go, Rihanna. I think you'll always be a success because you have the right mindset, you have the right approach, and you're able to adapt to every environment you're in. And so this is just something I tell my team and my kids all the time, that don't be a rock, because nobody wants to have to deal with rocks every single day they go to work.
And I think even from a work perspective, that's what people are looking for these days, isn't it? They're looking for
Yes.
people, they're recruiting people for their attitude,
Yes.
because that is the only thing that you can't train them on. You can train them on everything. So I don't know if you
Mm.
know, but Apple, no matter
Yes.
at which level they recruit people, they're all the questions is about customer care. There is not one technical question. But then you walk into an Apple store, they're actually dealing with technology, right? Day in and day out.
Yes.
But they
Yes.
really stand out with their customer care. You will not find one person walking out of Apple saying they had a really bad experience.
No.
And they all of their questions is only scenarios and it's customer care, because they believe you can train people on all the technical stuff. You can train me on how I can, use my Bluetooth. You can train me on how I can download different softwares. You can train me on all of that, but what you can't train me is, how do I put the resident or my client, how do I put that at the heart of everything that I do? How do I know that I'm making a difference in somebody's life? I could
Yes.
have walked into
Yeah.
an Apple store, they might not know anything that's going on in my life. And just the fact that somebody spoke to me with kind words and dealt with me very quickly would have made a difference to me on that day. You
Yes.
won't even get to see it. But do you see what I'm saying? So
Yes.
I just
Yes.
think it's so very important that that we become those people where we go in for the right attitude, we have the right thinking, and we are clear on why we're doing something. All of the other stuff can be learned and unlearned as well.
Yes, let's talk about some of the unlearnings because you've learned a lot in your sponge, but also I know that sometimes when you get to certain points in life, you need to let
You
some
have to
other things
unlearn.
go. You have to,
I,
make space for new knowledge and a new shift of a
yeah.
new way of doing
So
things.
when I said, like, I started my job in Brent, I was a customer service officer and I was good at what I used to do. I used to take 100 calls a day, and I was army precision, right? Like, a good memory. So I would be like, yeah, council tax you need to pay. Yes, we put your reminder on hold. Just brilliant at that. Then became a team leader. Now I'm responsible for the performance of the contact center. And I'm like, yeah, okay, everyone, you need to take 100 calls. They're like, no, I'm not going to. And I found it really hard because my background, being brought up in the army, I'm very used to being given an instruction and I just do it. I don't stand there and I don't question it. So when I became a team leader and I told my team, well, you have to do it, and they said, we are not doing it, I didn't know how to deal with it. And I'm like, how dare you say no to me? Because, I still didn't get the best out of the team.
Mm,
It really took me a lot of reflection, speaking to a
mm,
really good coach and a mentor, to realize that just because of my lived experiences have shaped me, their lived experiences have shaped them.
mm-hmm,
And I need to pause when things don't happen. I need to step back and I need to focus on the people more than I focus on the process or the technology or the other things. It's
mm,
like getting down and really understanding what is the root cause of this behavior, because what you're displaying is a symptom of a bigger problem, not and not trying to find out and try to solve their lives, because I have no control over life, but it'll help me understand and it'll help me build the empathy that I need in my heart to support them. And I
mm.
think that whole element about that people thing, I learned it and I had to unlearn this thing about just because their team leader, anything that I say goes.
Yes, yes, yes,
Do you
yes.
see? So I think that was a bit of an unlearning bit that I had to do. And I really had to unlearn letting go of my ego. You know, people management is the difficult thing to do, Griselda, because you could have done, you know, the people that you manage could have asked for 10 things, for example, and you could have done 8 things or 9 things exactly how they wanted it. And you will do that one thing. And that one thing could be as simple as somebody asked for leave and I've said no because it's year end, or, and there's a valid reason for it. But that's all they remember.
There.
That's all they remember. So you're not a
Yeah.
great manager. So for me, I had to unlearn and I had to let go of that ego that, you know, when they complain about me as a manager, it's not me, it's their situation, it's them not getting what they want. So don't take it
Mm.
personal,
Yes.
and my job is to let you be. I know
Yes.
that I've done the right decisions. I'm going to let you be. And let that settle and pass. Let them go through their emotions, because I'm one of those people who's always been very uncomfortable about conflict. Because again, in our culture, they don't teach you about how to deal with conflict. They
It's
don't.
not dealt well, it's unspoken. You just, yeah.
Like even to my children, when they don't like something, they know to storm off into their room and bang their door, but they don't know to sit down across the dining room table and actually say, "This is how I feel. I
Mm.
know it's a feeling. I know what you're trying to." We don't teach that to our kids, do we? So
No.
I didn't know how to deal with conflict in work environment. So I would either sulk or make it
And
worse.
it's
And
a
I had to
conflict
unlearn.
driven environment.
Yes, it is. And you have to unlearn all of those things, isn't it? I had to unlearn and be kind to myself and not so be hard on myself. So, like one of my first projects when I became a digital transformation lead failed. Oh my God, was I upset or what? Cried for 3 days, sulked, tried and thought, who else can I blame other than me and everything? But when I
That's very
actually,
honest.
but when
Who
I
else can I blame?
actually reflected on it and went back, redid it, let my ego go, wasn't
Mm.
sitting on my high horse and didn't have the pride that how dare I get it wrong. And when I redid it and it launched well, that was my proudest moment, because it wasn't about that project. It was about the fact that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to get upset about a mistake, but it's not okay to just dwell on it. It's not okay to blame someone else. What you need to do is get up, redo it, do it really well, make sure you learn from it, and be proud of what you've done next. And that's it, you move
Yes.
on,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I think
Yes.
that bit I had to unlearn, because I was really harsh on myself most of the time. Like if my report came back with anything, I would be really disappointed with myself. It's like, oh, how come I missed out on the grammar on this? And how did I not think of that? And why didn't I come up with the solution?
Perfectionism.
And we tend to do that. And I think it's unlearning that.
Yes. Being okay with 80% and
Why
moving
not?
on. I think that was a lesson I also had to learn. And every day I learn that lesson, because sometimes I just tell myself, not every single thing needs to be reviewed. Just let it go.
Yeah,
Just let it go. And
absolutely.
empowering people to do what they're best at. I think it's harder in practice, isn't it? It's
It is.
you can
And
read all
I
the
think
books, but when you have to do it, it's hard.
yeah, it is. And I also actually had to unlearn to not talk so much, because I can be a peacock
I can't
in
see
a
you.
meeting. No, no, no. I am really good these days, Griselda, especially in like formal meetings. I'm like, I don't need to be the smartest person in the room. I don't need to say so much. I'm more conscious about intent and impact, like
Yes.
really understanding what is my intention here? Why am I doing this? What is the impact of it? So I just think those are the kind of things that will really help us manage things better
Yeah.
at work.
Yeah. 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 There are two things you talked about that I hope we have time for me to touch on. The one thing you said is that you want to be CEO, and a lot of people shy away from vocalizing their goals,
Yeah,
and for many reasons, but you don't. You speak it, and you speak
I
it in a
want
very
to.
authentic way. Yes. Tell me
I want
why,
to
because I think
because
there's psychology behind that.
I think so too. Like I said, especially again from a cultural perspective, I remember when I got promoted, or I got a better job when I was in Brand. I was speaking to my aunt, and she was like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Is Ramesh okay with this? How are the kids going to, the kids are in a crucial age, their exams, and it's like maybe, don't run behind money so much." I was made to feel bad about having an ambition,
Mm.
so I felt bad about wanting to go for a better job. Like I would think twice, can I tell the senior this role is coming, and I'm like, I would like to apply for it. I don't want them to think, oh my God, you know. And mind you, again, I think there was another bit that happened in my life was when I moved to the UK, I was bullied for my accent.
Mm. I wanted
And
to ask what the challenges you faced in that transition. I'm so glad you're hitting on some of
it's
them.
like I had a really strong accent. I had a different way of dressing,
And you had a
and
limp, a cool limp.
swag bog. just like a really nice attitude work. But lot of people made fun of me, for my accent. So there was a bit of nervousness that I couldn't go. Like, I remember with Ericsson phones, I didn't know Bister was pronounced Bister. I would call it Bicester. In my head, it made perfect sense. Um, so, but I couldn't understand why people laugh. Somebody introduced me to somebody at work. I still remember, and they said she's come off the boat, and
Oh,
I was like, no, no, no. I actually took the flight. Can you come on the boat, please?
fresh
I
off
didn't.
the boat. There is a
I
comedy by that name. My son loves watching it. Fresh off the boat.
But the point I'm
Johnny
trying to make
just
is I
arrived.
didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know then, like what these terms meant and all of that. So it was double hard for me to kind of get used to that and learn all of that as well as I was navigating my career. Um, but I think going back to the challenges bit is that if you have an inclination to learn, those challenges are not challenges then, right?
Yes,
Because you
yes,
want to learn,
yes.
you want to get better at it. So you're never going to uh, sit and dwell on that as a challenge because you're already solving it, because you're learning. You've
Yes,
diverted your energy towards the learning rather than trying to dissect as to what the challenge is and what you need to do about it. My
yes.
accent is still quite strong, but I own it right now, and I'm more than comfortable to mispronounce words and terms and everything. And my children laugh at me all the time, but I just think, you know what? I'm going to wear it like a badge because it makes me unique.
I love you. I love you so much because so many people let this sense of judgment, of not saying things right, of not having the proper etiquette, not dressing right, not looking right, we make it wear us down so much that we shrivel. We shrivel into these little prunes and we can't do anything. But you're
Yeah.
amazing. Look at all that you've achieved. The UK racism, discrimination aside, the challenges you've come through to be able to get where you are, isn't that just phenomenal? No amount of bullying can take away the essence of who you are.
No, because I I've always said that, Crystal, and I tell my children, don't focus on things that you can't control. You
Yeah.
focus on yourself, and you just keep going, and you will get it wrong. You will slip up. You will fall down. I've had setbacks. I've been upset. I've sulked. I've cried. We all do it. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I've upset my husband. I've upset my friends. All of us do it all the time, but we don't need to give ourselves a hard time. We don't need to be the perfect person. We don't. I think there
Oh
is
my
so
God.
much power in accepting yourself. Like,
Stop fighting it. It's just who I am.
yeah,
Yeah.
just surround
Yeah.
yourself to it, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so what?
Yeah, yeah.
But
Once
it's
you're
something that you
improving,
should learn.
you're learning, you're improving. You're not
Yeah.
complacent and saying, just take me as I am. You're actually working on yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. So I could keep talking to you the whole day, Rihanna. So we quickly, you won the Novi Awards,
Yes.
and it was a phenomenal thing to see you on stage. The speech you gave as well. What has that award meant for you, and programs like that? What does it mean for you? Because we try and encourage people to put themselves forward to share their stories, because I believe that the
Yeah.
stories have power and they inspire, they give people the opportunity to see themselves in other people and to go for their dreams.
Yeah. I think, Griselda, for me, it was such an emotional moment for me. It was emotional, it was so energizing. And I just felt like it was like like my heart was filled with warmth and love because I just felt like there was an acknowledgement for my journey. There was an acknowledgement for the efforts that I had put in, and it felt good. And it came from where people don't know me. So I think it's a different thing when people know you and they're like, oh, you're really good at it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, of course you're going to say nice things about me. But I think to be recognized from people who didn't know you, I think that was so powerful. So in my head, that was like winning an Oscar, for my life.
Ah,
In my world, that's what it meant because, I got
yes.
recognized for everything that I had gone through. So that was special. And I think for me, another thing was that it it was presented in an environment or in a platform where I had like-minded women, really strong, inspiring women who had their own journeys, their own narrative, and just feeling that collective power of trying to bring everything together. And it left me with a sense of responsibility that I need to pass this on to the next person. And I said that in my
Yes.
speech, like, my
Yes.
friend Nadra, she always says that as women, somebody has sent the lift down to us, but if we've gone up, we need to remember to send that lift back again.
Yes, we need
So,
to.
since the Novi Award, I've genuinely proactively reached out to more women at work, to mentor them, to coach them. I speak at women in tech events, and I'm
You've
just
spoken
like,
at
no, I
our
need,
event as well. Yes.
yeah. And I'm like, no, I need to do this. Like, I would never say no to you, Griselda. I would never, because
I'll come with more ask. I'll be coming.
no, but it's because I think I've got that sense of responsibility, and I just kind of think that you've empowered me with that, with something that I really do. It's my job to pass it on, and more people receive it. So I think that's what it's done to me, getting that Novi Award. It's given me an additional sense of purpose. So for me, it was just not about what I do at work; it's what I do with the wider, community as well.
Fabulous. Well, we've run out of time, but it's been an absolute pleasure sitting with you and hearing your story again. I am inspired by the way you do
God
life,
bless
the
you.
way you lead, the way you parent, and everything you bring to how you engage with life. I find very inspiring, and I'm sure everybody
No,
who's
but
listening
thank
as
you.
well will do the
No,
same.
but thank you so much for inviting me over. Really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the awards. And so many women who came that I was like, I remember speaking to so many people. One of them was your friend as well, who's a writer. And I was just like, oh my God, the kind of achievements that people have made, and such a blessing to be able to sit in a room with them and listen to them and hear their stories. And of course, those selfies, um, as
We've
well.
got amazing photos. No, but I am very privileged. I have the most amazing women within the community. The awards attract really kind-hearted,
Absolutely.
purposeful leaders. And it's a real genuinely, it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to run this program. And I get to meet people like you through
Oh,
it.
thank you,
So
Griselda.
I'm
And
so
likewise,
grateful.
same thing for us, same thing for all
Yes.
of us as well. And I speak on behalf of loads of women who come and are part of Novi. So yeah, no, thank you very much. I really appreciate you asking me to speak as well. I really do.
So we'll see you 21st of November, Friday in London.
100%.
Yes, if you
Yes.
haven't applied, apply. Because you might just be walking away with a special award like Rihanna.
Definitely. And we'll be in touch. See you. Bye
Yes,
bye.
we'll be in touch. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.